Howdy folks, thanks for joining me today here at the homestead. I hope you're having a blessed day, and I'm kind of excited about this week's garden update. We've had warmer nights, although we've had a lot of rain. We've had a little warmer temperatures during the day and especially at night, and the garden has exploded. Everything's going good and just coming along. I'm so excited. I know some of you are just now getting to plant if you're up north, and I've heard folks here in Oklahoma where we are that it's been so wet you can't even get your garden planted. And so I'm sorry that that's happening to you, but hold on, it ain't gonna be long you can get your garden planted. But some up north, it's not been too long ago that you had snow, and not very far north of here was under frost warnings, so freeze warnings, whatever. So but the stuff's kind of taking hold here in the warmer temperatures, getting a lot done, and I'm excited. Won't be long, hopefully. It'll be longer than I think, I'm sure, but I'm looking forward to some ripe tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that. Well, here's a little look at the garden here. Alrighty, here's the garden from a back a ways. I wanted to show you I was excited about the squash. If you looked last week and watched with us, there is a lot of difference now in our squash. But I want you to look right here. I mean, these have taken off and got little bitty squashes there, and it won't be long till we'll be eating some fresh squash. And I like my squash fried mostly. I know it's the most unhealthy way. This here is a black zucchini, it's called, but it's just a zucchini. But I want you to look at this little zucchini right there. Lots of blooms. And look how pretty those leaves are. That is, you can definitely tell this variety because of the leaves, but it is really a pretty color. And look how big those leaves are. I mean, them things are humongous. But I think these squash, I started these in coffee cans like I did the tomatoes, if you've been watching. And I think that head start really has helped them. But this is some I planted heels, and I've got a video that shows you how to plant squash. And this is some here, and they're starting to get some little buds here. This is yellow squash that I started from seeds out here in the garden. I've started all these from seeds. I just started these earlier in coffee cans, and they're coming along. And we had a big rain, and it looks like it washed a couple of my squashes over there. So I'm going to transplant them over here in this row, so when I get ready to tiller up the garden, why, everything, these are some more of that black zucchini, and you can see by the leaf colors they're starting to it's got that coloring on the leaves. I love zucchini and yellow squash. And here is our watermelon vines. Now, I watched somebody on YouTube that had the biggest, prettiest watermelon vines, but that's all we've got so far. And here's one cantaloupe. We don't eat a lot of that kind of stuff, but Josie does. Charlie, are you back out here again today? What are you doing out in the garden, huh? Do you want to be on film again? What you doing there, huh? Anyway, I guess Charlie hasn't learned his lesson about staying out of the garden, but he, for some reason, that rooster thinks when I'm out here, especially when I'm trying to film, he wants to be right here with me for some reason. I guess he thinks if he's famous, he won't get turned into dumplings or something. I don't know. He's singing, "They're gonna put me in the movies." But anyway, I'll show you the beans. Here's the beans. These are actually black-eyed peas, but they're coming along good. These are the jade green beans, 2 rows of them. But my early ones that I put out, the contenders, Look how these beans have just, I mean, that's a good looking row of green beans there. Can't hardly wait till we can have a pot of green beans. And here's our okra. The okra really likes warmer weather, and the last few days this okra has grown at least an inch or so, just real quick like, and so it won't be long, it'll be up here a little bit. Mine never does get real tall. This is the crimson spineless okra. And anyway, our tomatoes are coming along. A lot of them's got blooms and looking good. And here's one. I had a video today. I replanted this hole here because it looked like it had gotten ate, and it's a this is a Cherokee purple I planted in its place, but these are Rutger tomatoes in this row right here. But I wanted to show you something that's happened. I was excited the other day when I came out here. These are my coffee can tomatoes that I started early. Look what we got right there. Little tomatoes coming on. And there's another one. Whoops. Trying to get the camera in that cage there. It's kind of tricky. Anyway, this right here's got some little, sure enough, little tomatoes on it. And here's some. Listen, every one of these I think's got some little tomatoes on them. Today, while I have doing this video here about our garden update this week, and it's exciting to me every day to come out and see how things are going, but especially since I've been doing a weekly video on the garden, I've been paying definitely a lot more attention. But this week I think's the most growth we have seen since we've had planted the garden. But I wanted to talk to you today about tomato cages. And I wanted to say that first off, anyhow that you do your garden, it's not the same everywhere. You know, if your climates where you live at, and some your soil types, your temperatures, if it gets hot in the summer, there's so many different things that it ain't one size fits all. So I wanted to explain to you that even though I do things a certain way, doesn't mean it'll work. But what I've done is tried different things, and I try something different every year. This year, one of the things I tried to do was starting my transplanting tomatoes in coffee cans and planting it out. And I've got a video on that if you're interested in it, but I call it coffee can tomatoes, and they have really done good. I'll probably do a bunch more. I don't know if I'll do all the tomatoes, but I'll definitely next year be doing more in metal coffee cans to get them started early. Same thing with my squash. Those two squash plants have really taken off, and next year I want to get even an earlier start, because the quicker you get tomatoes the better. But anyway, getting back on cages, what I was going to say was I've tried different things. I have tried doing just a stake in the ground and tying the tomato up to a stake. I've tried putting up cattle panels, and I have done the cages, and my best results that I've done so far is when I done them in cages. I've had the best luck doing them in cages. My dad done cages when I was a kid. Now I've tried other types of cages. I've done just those little wire cages. You can buy some that are kind of three little legged things, and you can buy them like at the farm stores and places. And I like to use those on like my peppers. I'll show you one here, and these things are getting old here. Like this pepper right here, I have put this little cage around it. What that'll do is support that, because our peppers go crazy here, but they'll get heavy and break over in a wind, and this helps to really support them. I've got this bigger cage here with chicken wire around it, but it's to keep the rabbits from eating my pepper plants. For some reason, rabbits love pepper plants here. And so to protect them, they don't seem to bother my tomatoes or anything like that. But the pepper plants, they'll really get to eating. But anyway, I have tried several things. I have tried just leaving them like this and not even having anything around them. The tomatoes scorch, the vines flop on the ground. Seems like they get more disease. But I do them this way in these cages, and I take a T-post and tie up here, and I run a wire from one end all the way down there to the other. I've got a middle post there. And the only reason I do that is because we get real high winds. One thing you can do, if you're in Oklahoma, you know what I mean about the high winds. Another thing that some of my cages have is I'll cut this and make a pokey with it and put it down in the ground on the opposite end. And you do 1, 2, 3 maybe of those and have little sharp points, and that helps get you some grip too into the soil. But still yet, in this wind we have here in Oklahoma, these things will blow over. And I have come out before and had a whole row over. So I started putting the tomatoes will get up taller than these baskets. So I run me a little wire and I just take a zip tie and put on there, and that'll keep this from falling over. And once the plant gets established really good, it helps some with holding it in place. But later on in the summertime, when the plants get bigger and they outgrow the cages, I'll take another little cage like this and I'll put up there like that, and I'll take a little zip tie and tie it on and let the tomatoes get on up here taller. But you'll have fruit from the bottom, all the way up through here. But these are very sturdy and will hold up very well. I've tried using field fence, and I've got a bunch that's made out of field fence. And once I get up all of these here, the cement wire, reinforcement wire for concrete, is what these are made out of. When I use up all these, then I'll start using my field fence ones. And the field fence ones, I was given some field fence and I took and turned it into cages, but they don't seem to hold up very well. They get kind of floppy. So these here tend to hold up very well. You can zip tie an extension on and they'll hold up and do pretty good. Anyway, as you can see, I've got these tied. Some of them, like this one, I just took the wire in there, but I need to bring some more zip ties out here and finish zip tying all these. But if you're in an area that you don't get strong winds, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But this is the best success that we have found. Another thing that we do is I put mulch around them. And I need to this fall to get me some straw bales. We just had trouble getting straw this year. But anyway, when we usually have enough straw, and I'll buy 2 or 3 bales and I'll put down here at the end of the garden and let them rot, kind of get wet and everything, and kind of get to starting to rot. And then when it gets this time of the year, I'll mulch the tomatoes with straw bales, and that tends to work really good. You can also use a ground cloth, but I don't mind tilling up and down through here. That's no problem for me to do. When I put this other row of baskets here, it's just going to be wide enough for me to get the tiller down through here, but I don't mind running it once a week and keeping the grass down. But you could use like a landscape fabric down through here, and works very well. And I have done that. It's just every year I like to till up the whole garden, plow it up, and you have to pull all that stuff up, and it's usually not very reusable. So I just but this mulch here is store-bought mulch, but it will rot into the ground. So this will actually helps the soil too. Besides, it helps keep the weeds and grass down, and you don't want your tomatoes to get, or anything you have in the garden, you don't want anything to have a bunch of weeds. But stuff like the okra here, I can go down through here and hoe this okra, and also I can till real close to that and keep it clean. And these beans will be the same way. You can see there's a morning glory trying to come up right there. And but I can get my tiller and till up and get right up next to these beans, and it'll throw a little dirt up here, and it will keep down the weeds. You can also hoe them. It don't take me long to come out here and maintain the garden. I don't like to let weeds and grass grow, but out here in the middle, you can see this needs to be tilled. There's some weeds and grass coming, and I just hoed around these tomatoes a day or two ago, and I raked the weeds and grass out here. Well, some of it's taken hold, but as soon as I till this and we get a warm day, if you till and it's warm weather, it'll kill. That stuff won't survive. But if it's wet like we've been having, well, we got a week here of warm weather coming up, or warmer weather. Anyway, folks, that's kind of a garden update this week, and I wanted to say that we have had a beautiful spring this year. We have had a lot of water, but not like we had last year. And so this spring, I have been really pleased with our springtime weather we've had here. It's not been too hot. In fact, this spring has reminded me more of when I was a boy growing up here on this piece of property. It reminds me more of how it was back in the day, and I've been thankful. Anyway, I sure appreciate you watching today. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. If you hit the like button or make comments, that helps our channel to grow. And I hope your gardens are doing well, and I love reading the comments about what you got going on in your gardens. And so I may not be able to respond to everybody, but I do read every comment. And so far, it may be eventually get to where I can't do that, but I've been reading them at night, and I was like, man, I love hearing how you're doing in your area. And some, you know, like I say, haven't been able to plant gardens, but I still like to know, you know, how it does in other parts of the country. And some of you are around the world, in the UK and Australia and Puerto Rico and all different places. And I love hearing how you're doing in your neck of the woods, how your garden's doing, and some do things different than we do here. And but the reason that I do what I do here is because over the years I have tried different techniques, and sometimes I'll see something on YouTube that I think, hey, that's a good idea, and so I will try it. And I explained the other day about these pipes that I put them in the ground and how I plant my tomatoes. Well, I'd seen a guy had taken them and put caps on them and drilled a hole in the side and just set them right there by. Instead of burying them with the tomato down deep, he just put them up high. So I did a row that way 2 or 3 years ago when I first seen his video, and it worked real good for him. But what I found was it seemed like the grass wanted to really grow right around my tomato. And I was like, I want to get the water down there in to where the roots are. So I said, I'm going to go back to what I've always done. But I had bought a bunch of caps, and I had a bunch of 2-inch pipe. And so I put caps on all of them and drilled holes enough to do probably 30 or more plants just to try it one year, and it didn't work. But you know, that's the way you do things. You try it. You experiment with new things. Nothing wrong with trying new ideas. And if you try something and it don't work for you, then you can abandon it. That's the fun. That's what keeps this interesting. I wanted to say about gardening, we do gardening because we love it. This is fun to us. We do the homesteading type lifestyle because this is what we love to do. So do what you like to do, what makes you happy. And if you love planting a certain way, I got a friend that he grows his tomatoes in hay bales. He buys bales of straw, and he got him some this year again, and he plants the tomato down in that straw, and he's had great success with that. And I'm like, hey, do what you enjoy to do. Try something new every year. If nothing else, just try a little bit of something new every year. And you may be surprised. You may invent something, come up with something that just works great. Anyway, I sure appreciate you watching today. May God richly bless you, and we'll see you next time here at Cedar Creek Homestead. We're gone.